Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, I'm really glad to see you here again. When I'm saying here, it's a bit difficult because you are somewhere else and I'm in an empty room. But anyway, I can talk without the face mask, so I think it will be much better to understand what I'm saying. So let me once again to welcome you here at your lecture from marketing communication. Today, firstly, we are going online and well, we will see if it will works, and anyway, I hope it will be okay. So what's the program today? Today I would like to talk more about marketing communication. You probably remember from our last lecture that we talk about some marketing basics, which are considered as a base for marketing communication. And today I would like to introduce you another base for marketing communication, and this is the consumer behavior. Because if you want to make any kind of marketing communication attempt, you need to understand your consumers. So today I would like to talk more about consumers, about their behavior. I will try to explain the basic model of consumer behavior. Then, as a small present for you, I have a small homework. But even this is a homework, I'm still hoping that it will be like kind of fun for you. Why? Well, you will see. Basically it will be about watching the movie. So I hope this is some kind of work you really like. So I hope it will be okay for you. Okay, today's topic is called consumer behavior. In this lecture, I would like to talk about how we, like consumers, how we are thinking about things, how we, what is the process of deciding, of buying something, and so on. So I think and I hope this will be interesting for you. So just come along and enjoy. Okay, so let's talk about consumer behavior. What does it mean if we talk about consumer behavior? Well, we can say that consumer behavior refers to the buying behavior of final consumers, like me or you, whatever you want. Individuals and households who buy goods and services for personal consumption. All of these final consumers combine to make up the consumer market. So I think this is pretty easy, and you know those information already from some economics subjects. So what is important to keep in mind is the fact that consumers all around the world vary tremendously, like really, and in which things, in things like age, income, education level, tastes, and so on and so on. Also, consumers, they buy an incredible variety of goods and services. So the market is really, really huge. Well, if we want to talk about model of consumer behavior, we can use a model which was presented by Philip Kotler in his book Marketing Management, like maybe 20 years ago. And still, even this model is so old, still it's valid, and it's still, let's say, actual. So, what we can see on that model, I hope that this picture is clearly visible in your presentation. We will see. And anyway, we got like 3 boxes, if you can see it. And the first box, is called marketing and other stimuli. The second box is called buyer black box, and I will explain what does it mean in a few seconds. And then there's a third box, which is called buyer responses. So let me explain how this model is working. Because it shows like the whole environment of buying behavior. So at the first box we got stimuli. If you look at the red part of the box, you can find things like product, place, promotion, and distribution. I'm sorry, it's product, price, place, and promotion. If you were here, I would like to ask you if you know what those things means, if you already seen them or if you know them. You probably will know what those things are. They are the marketing P's part, you know, the marketing P, like 4P of marketing. And so, yeah, basically those factors influencing all the consumers all around the world by, let's say, the first things like by showing them the product. Then we can let's say influence consumer by the price of the product, you know, then by the distribution process, and for sure with the thing what we are enjoying the most and also this subject is about the thing, and the thing is called marketing communication, aka promotion. So those are the things which are influencing the consumers from the marketing perspective of view. Also, in the green part of the box, we got another part of stimuli. We got, let's say, things which they are coming from the outer space, like from the outer environment. So we got things like economic or technological or political culture and other factors which can influence consumer. How can they influence consumer? Well, it's pretty easy. If you think about the economic situation, so in those countries where the economy is on the good level, the consumers, they will probably buy more because they have money, right? On the other hand, in countries where the economic factors are bad, they probably will buy a few stuff than in the rich countries, and also they probably will buy a different types of products. Well, this is probably the same with the last one from the green part of the box, the cultural factors. Again, there will be a huge difference between buying behavior in, let's say, in the United States and on the other hand in countries like Nepal, okay? Because you know, the North American society is focused on let's say consumerism. This is the word. And in the other part of the world, the nations could be focused on, let's say, spiritual things. Okay, so that's why. And the other ones, like political, why the political factors can influence the buying behavior? Well, pretty easy. In Czech Republic, you probably know the Prime Minister. His name is Andrej Babiš. And there are some consumers which they are using a specific application, the app for mobile phone, which can, let's say, research the product in a shop, and you can realize if this product was produced by one of the company of our Prime Minister. So just because of the political, let's say, thoughts and political intents, the consumers can change their mind. So if they are against this Prime Minister, they can easily avoid the product produced by his company. And you can find lots of other things, like in some countries, like in Cuba, due to the political situation, you are unable to buy some kinds of products. For example, some products from, especially from the United States, and so on and so on. So this is the political situation and the political factors. And also we got one thing, and it's called technological factors. How can they influence consumer behavior? Well, it's pretty easy. I don't know if you have like iPhone, so you probably will change your phone every 2 years. Every time the Apple will issue a new version of the iPhone, you will probably buy the new one just because you could be a fan of this brand and so on. And that could be the reason. Some kind of shift in technology can, let's say, force you to buy some other things. And there could be much more other things which are driven by technology. Just because there is some kind of technology, some part of consumers will buy some stuff. For example, the some electronic or electric cars like Tesla and so on. Okay, so just to make it to understand this part of lecture. Well, it's pretty easy. We got like two forces which can influence consumer behavior. On one side, those forces can be driven by marketing. On the second side, those forces will be driven by external factors. Okay, and in the middle of the model, we get something what we called buyer's black box. Again, if you were here, I would like to ask you, what do you think, or why Mr. Kotler called this part of model like black box? You are not here, so I have to answer myself. Anyway, the reason why it's called black box is pretty easy. Black box just because we are not able to see the whole picture of this part of consumer behavior process. So some processes within this box are invisible for anyone. Sometimes even for us like consumers, because we are not able to, some of you, maybe it's the same for me. I'm also sometimes I don't understand myself in some situations, some cases. So that's the reason, you know. You sometimes can do the things which are really out of normal way of thinking, you know, they are totally crazy, but you will do that because of something, because of some reason, you know. And that's why we call this part of the model a black box, because we are not able to recognize all the processes, all the forces which can influence the consumers. Okay, so again, we got like two parts of the model. The first one are called buyer characteristics, and the second one is called buyer decision process. The buyer characteristics are really hard to understand, or at least deeply understand, because yeah, some obvious traits are really to understand, but there are some deeper movements in our minds which are really hard to describe or hard to think about them even. So that's why the buyer characteristics are really hard to understand, and also, which is important, they vary tremendously between all the consumers. Even though they are, if you got like biological twins and they are totally same, the consumer behavior process between those twins could be different in some, you know, in some parts of the process. One of them probably could want like blue car, and the other one from the twins want a red car. And why is that? Okay, so this is really hard to understand. We got today like some methods which can help us to understand consumers. Those methods are mostly from the part of marketing which we call neuromarketing. And basically it's about to have an ability to look right into the brains of consumers with things like magnetic resonance and so for example also the eye camera. I don't know if you already heard about the eye camera. Eye camera is the thing like you get glasses, and through those glasses the computer can watch your eye. So whatever you look at, the computer will save the position of your eye, and then the researcher can after that can let's say analyze where you look at, when you look at, and so on and so on. This is the eye camera. Okay, so for now I think the let's say the knowledge that biocharacteristic is really hard to understand is enough right now. Okay, and on the other hand, the green part of the model, the buyer decision process, well, there are some researchers who describe this process, and I will also show you this process in a few seconds. But the thing is that as the consumer is changing during the time, also his or her, for sure, behavior is changing too. So yeah, there are some let's say milestones within the consumer process, but they could be changed, and I will explain you why in a few moments. Okay, and the last box of the consumer behavior model, which is called buyer responses. These things, those things are like kind of result of your behavior. So if you do all the part of the model, there will be some kind of result, and the result could be like the product choice. You will choose one of the product, or you can choose none of them as well, or you can choose your brand, favorable or some new brand, and so on. Then it could be other things like the dealer choice and the other things. So well, there will be always some kind of response within the consumer behavior process. Okay, so let's move to the other slide. When I was talking about consumer characteristic, I told you that it's really hard to, let's say, do any kind of research in this field, and it's also really hard to understand all the things which can influence this part of consumer behavior. But anyway, we can let's say realize some parts of the factors which can influence consumer, and those factors, there are at least 5 groups of factors, and we can like predict how those factors can influence consumer behavior. So if you look at the group of factors, so you can see that we got like culture, social, personal, psychological factors, and the very last thing is the buyer. But last but not the least, for sure, because he is the most important thing in this process. So as you can see, if we look at the culture thing, we can well, it could be fine if we can say what is the culture, you know, and you probably know that culture is something which we can learn. Professor Hofstede, he's from Netherlands, and his research focus is on a culture influences on consumers and on all people at all. So he said that the culture is the software of the mind. You know what does it mean, okay? So it's like if you have a computer, and well, the hardware is the chassis of computer and all the gadgets on that, but you need to have a software which can run all the hardware thing in the computer. So the culture is the software of our mind. So we get like our mind, our brain, but we need a culture to be able to behave somehow. So, well, yeah, the culture is the most fundamental determinant of person's wants and behavior. You probably also know that each culture consists of smaller subcultures. Those are the smaller groups within the huge cultures. Those subcultures include things or groups like nationalities, religions, racial groups, or for example, geographic regions. And also, within the culture factors, we have something what we call social classes. And again, I think you probably know what does it mean, but if I can explain it to you, I can say that the social classes are like homogeneous groups, and they are like the enduring divisions in a society. They are probably hierarchical. There are some kind of hierarchy within those subcultures, and what we know is that their members share the similar values, interest, and also the behavior. It's I think pretty easy to understand. Social classes may differ in dress, speech patterns, recreational preferences, and many other characteristics. So those are the culture factors. If we look at the second part of the 5-step model, we have social factors. And we can, let's say, divide the social factors into the 3 groups, like reference groups, family, and roles and statuses. So what does it mean? What does it mean to be a reference group, or what is it, reference group? Well, those are the groups which consist of all the groups that have a direct or indirect influence on a person's attitudes or behavior. So those groups having a direct influence on a person are called membership groups. We are like part of those groups, but still they are reference groups. Well, family. Family is the most important and also the most influenceable group within the social factors, because you are still part of some family. If you are a young person, you are part of the family of your parents, then you will get older and you will have your own family. So basically you are still part of some kind of family. And the family is the most important consumer buying organization in society at all. And also the family members are the most influential primary reference group. Well, basically, you probably know what does it mean to have a family. The family of orientation, which is really important within the buying process, is consisted of parents and siblings. Those are the most influential people within the consumer buying process. Well, the last thing in this group is called roles and statuses. What does it mean? Well, every person participates in many groups such as family, clubs, or organizations. So the person's position in each group can be defined in the terms of role and statuses. So basically we play some kind of role, and also we have some kind of status given by, let's say, by our position in some hierarchy. Okay, and again, those factors can influence buying behavior like in a huge level. Personal factors, well, they are pretty clear, I think. Age and stage in life cycle. Well, if you are young, you will probably buy a different products than if you are older. That's pretty easy. Also, occupation and economic circumstances can change your buying behavior. If you are working, for example, as a bank clerk, you probably will buy some fine dresses because you need to have some dress code. On the other hand, if you are a laborer, you will probably buy regular clothes. You don't probably care about how you appear and so on. So those are the most obvious differences. Also, we got something what we call personality and self-concept. So how can we see ourselves? So every person, like me and you, we have something what it's called personality characteristic, and those characteristics influencing buying behavior. Again, personality refers to the distinguishing psychological traits that lead to relatively consistent and enduring responses to environmental stimuli. And the last thing from the box of personal factors is lifestyle and values. Again, you probably will have some kind of specific lifestyle, and you will also, let's say, enjoy specific values. So basically people from the same subculture, social class and occupation may actually lead quite different lifestyles. Lifestyles is a person pattern of living as expressed in activities, interests and opinions. Okay, the next box is the buyer decision process. So the marketer, we, like, or you, if you are going to be a marketing expert, so you have to understand every facet of consumer buying decision process, from learning about a product to making a brand choice, using the product and even disposing it. Okay, so if you are done with the product and you are sending it to the garbage, and this is still considered as a buying or consumer behavior. Okay, even the disposal of some kind of product is still consumer behavior. So if you look at the buyer decision process, I told you that it's pretty easy, but you will realize that it doesn't work always. So if you look at those, we got things like need recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, purchase decision, and something what we call post-purchase behavior. And again, it's pretty easy. If you let's say you want to buy an ice cream, for example. So this process will start with need recognition. So imagine the hot, sunny weather, and the weather is really hot and you need to calm yourself down. So you realize that you need to be calmed down. You need to calm yourself. So the thing could be like, I can drink cold water, I can switch on the fan, or I can switch on the AC, or I can eat an ice cream. So this is the second part of the process. So I will starting to search information. What can I do? How can I, let's say, diminish my need? Okay, so this is the information search. Then I will learn all the alternatives. How can I deal with the situation? So as I said, AC, cold water, ice cream, and so on and so on. So I will decide. I am influenced by the factors as we talk about them before. So there could be some kind of marketing. Now I will see like billboard, or I will hear the radio advertisement, and this advertisement will be about ice cream, some specific brand, Algida for example. So, influenced by this radio advertisement, I will decide to buy an ice cream. So I will go to the corner store and I will buy ice cream. So this is the purchase decision. And then I will eat the ice cream and I will realize that, well, I will realize that ice cream was good, it was good, but I'm still feeling hot weather. I need to do something, probably use my AC air conditioning system. So I think it's pretty easy to understand the buyer decision process, but this is like the best situation. In real life, our needs and our, let's say, processes in our mind are again changing all the time. So yeah, so just you can go through all those things right now. So the first thing, as I said, is problem or need recognition. So the buying process starts when the buyer recognizes a problem or need triggered by, as I said, by internal stimuli or external, for example, marketing stimuli. And then they becomes the drive of our need. The second one, the information search. Where can we find the information? Well, all around. But mostly we will get the information from personal sources, probably also from commercial sources, public sources, or some experiential sources. Okay, if we are dealing with some kind of more difficult problem, we can ask some expert. So the consumers usually receive the most information from commercial sources, although the most influential information comes from personal sources or public sources. The public sources could be like independent authorities and so on. Well, what about the evaluation of alternatives? Well, then the consumer is trying to satisfy a need. Then consumer is looking for certain benefits from the product solution. And the third one, each product is viewed as a bundle of attributes with varying abilities for delivering the benefits to satisfy this need. So then there is a purchase decision. I think this is pretty easy. This is the fourth stage. The consumer forms the preferences among the brands or the products and so on and so on, and he or she will do a choice, and also he could be influenced by the preferences within the brands and so on. And the last thing, the post-purchase behavior, as I said, it's whenever you use the product, even if you are disposing it, still this is considered as a post-purchase decision. Or behavior, I'm sorry. And well, during this process, consumers, they are evaluating their decision. And this process is really, really important because by this process, you are learning about the product, about the qualities of the product and so on. And those things which you will learn will influence your next consumer behavior. And now we are in the point where the marketing communication has the last chance to do anything with consumers' attitudes, because within the post-purchase behavior we still have a chance to influence consumer. For example, if you buy something and if you are using the product as a seller or as a producer, we can send an email to the consumer, or we can call him or her and ask if he or she is satisfied with the product, or we can send him or her some let's say, I don't know, some coupons for the next product and so on and so on. So still we can use marketing communication even if the consumer already bought the product. Also, one more thing, there are some kinds of buying decision behavior. Because as I said, the buying process is the steps of the process. They are pretty clear and pretty easy to understand. But the thing is that there could be a different situation within those steps could be changed. So if you look at this picture, you will see that we got like 4 dimensions, and those dimensions are given by 2 axes. The first one is about how interested is the consumer within the buying process, and the other X is about differences between the product. So we can have like 4 types of buying behavior. The first one is called complex buying behavior, and this is when the individual purchases is a high value brand and seeks a lot of information before the purchase is made. For example, if you want to buy a car or some really expensive computer, and so on and so on. The next thing is so-called habitual buying behavior, and this is when the individual buys a product out of habit, for example a daily newspaper, chewing gums, sugar or salt, and so on and so on. So you basically don't give a hoot on what you buy, so just buy one thing. For example, if you are buying chewing gums, so if they don't have a Winter Fresh, which is the brand you always buy, you can buy an Orbit or some other brand. Okay, you need to just have some chewing gums. Okay, the next thing is variety-seeking buying behavior, and this is where the individual likes to shop around and experiment with different products. So if you are trying, for example, the fragrances, and if you want to try some fragrances, and then you can buy something other, and so on and so on. And the last thing is so-called dissonance reducing buying behavior. This is when the buyer are highly involved with the purchase of the product, because the purchase is, for example, expensive or infrequent. You don't buy this every day. But also there is only a little differences between existing brands. Like an example would be buying a diamond ring. So you know, the diamond ring is still diamond ring. It costs you a fortune, but they are like only a few producers of diamond rings. So that's called dissonance buying behavior. And now I would like to give you the promised present, aka homework. And well, I think you will enjoy preparing the homework. So what I want you to do, well, I will explain you in a few seconds what is the product placement. Product placement is one of the part of marketing communication tools, and it's a really interesting tool to, let's say, persuade consumer to use or buy some kind of product. And as I said, I will explain you what does it mean and what kind of product placement we have. So your task will be choose a movie. What kind of movie, it's really up to you. I don't care. Probably it wouldn't be a porn movie, because, you know, okay. So choose some kind of movie, some title, and just watch it. Just watch the movie once, and then you can watch it second time, and you can analyze it, or you should analyze it. And your task will be like to find product placement within the movie. And as I said, I will explain you what the product placement is. So, what is the product placement? I think all of you already met those tools within the movie. Uh, Basically, product placement is a promotional tactic which is used by marketers in which characters in a fictional play, movie, television series, or a book use a real commercial product. Typically, either the product or logo is shown or favorable qualities of the products are mentioned. Basically, the product placement involves placing a product in a highly visible situation. The most common form is a movie and television placement. You can see the movies like Castaway or a TV series 24 hours, in the first case using FedEx logo, and in the second one the Apple logo. And you can find a similar appearances almost in any kind of movie, but not just movie. You can find product placement also within the books or within the radio program, podcasts, and so on and so on. So product placement in television, in film, is really good way, or is really effective way how you can talk with your consumer. Because while watching television, people very often ignore or zap the commercials during the commercial break. You will go pee and you will make a coffee for you, and so on and so on. So many people trying to avoid TV commercials. So but if you are able to integrate advertisement into the movie, even to the plot of the movie, there is a really high chance that you will be able to talk with your consumers, or you can affect your consumers. So rather than advertising product in a commercial, advertising owners have their products incorporated into the television program and films. So that's why the advertising owners hope that by placing their products within the program or film, they will effectively increase the overall awareness of their product with the audience targeted by the filmmakers or television producers. We got like 3 types of product placement. Visual placement, so we can see the brand or we can see the product. Then auditory placement, so we can hear that someone is talking about some kind of product, probably in a good manner. And also we got something that is called plot connection. Plot connection is when the product is a really important part of the movie. The product plays like vital role in the movie. So I will show you some things right now. So visual placement, for example, here we got like American Idol content, and you can see that there have cups with Coca-Cola logo. So in any kind of situation where the logo or product will appear, this is considered as a visual placement. The auditory placement is, as I already said, when a character verbally refers to a product or service that is scripted within the program. The effect of auditory placement depends on 3 factors. The context in which the concept is mentioned, the product is mentioned, the frequency, and also the emphasis placed on the product. So if you talk about some product in a good manner, it definitely will have a different impact on what the consumer will think about the product than if you talk, if you bad talk, you know, the product. So auditory, as the researcher says, the auditory information has a greater effect than a visual placement on viewers, because they can process the information even when they are not looking at the television or movie screen. People tend to pay more attention to what is being said by characters, especially during the programs in which the viewer is highly involved. Well, as a milestone of all kind of product placement, the James Bond movies are considered to be the milestone, okay, the most important things. So, and it doesn't matter if we talk about the gun, which is typical Walther PPK, which is the typical gun for James Bond, but there could be a huge amount of other different products which could be, let's say, advertised through the product placement. The last but not least for sure is so-called plot connection. So this is the type of placement which occurs most often and usually has the greatest impact on viewers. Plot connection occurs when a brand makes a low or high level contribution to the storyline of the movie or to the book or radio program, whatever you want. So plot connection usually involves the physical handling of the product and can have the greatest impact on viewers when the brand is highly connected to the plot. Well, the really good movie to watch how plot connection is work is called The Truman Show. If you haven't seen this movie before, I highly recommend you to watch that, especially now if you don't have to go to school. This movie is really good to understand how plot connection is working in real life. So product or concept placement is considered as one of the persuasive communication skills. For different ways of making use of product or concept placement, we cannot say it is the way of approaching is wrong or correct. It would be better to consider the product or concept placement as a way of information delivery. Therefore, as a way of information delivery, there is only with delicate approach or awkward approach. So it's again only up to you as a marketing professional which way you will choose. So the assignment of your homework, you will choose one of your favorite movie, and you will watch that, and then you will make a notes of the product placement, and then you will prepare a presentation. The presentation should be like for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15, 20, it doesn't matter, it's up to you, you will see. And the structure of the presentation should be like follow. First, you will do the brief introduction to the movie storyline. So you will tell me what is the movie about. Then there will be a presentation of the analysis of the result. What kind of brands or products you seen in this movie. Then you will try to determine the product placement type, if it's visual, auditory, or plot connection. And at the end, you will do some kind of overall summary. The presentation should have form of video presentation. You don't have to be visible within the presentation, but it should be like PPT, like PowerPoint presentation, but transferred to the video. So you will do a video presentation and you will send me the link for the presentation. The good news is that this presentation will be the only thing which is mandatory for the evaluation of your contribution in the subject. What does it mean? Well, there will be no tests, no other kind of evaluation. You will just send me the presentation, and according to the presentation, you will get the mark, you will get the credit from this subject. So this is connected with the deadline for the presentation. The deadline is the same as our last lecture, okay? So if my memory serves me right, it should be like December 8th. Is that true? I think, yeah. December 8th will be the deadline for your presentation. Okay guys, I hope you enjoy my presentation. I hope you learned something, and I will see you next time.